Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing, and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in.
Hello, wonderful. Merry Christmas. Can you believe this episode is coming out on Christmas Day? Now, I'm actually super organized, and not only did we record this with Kristy maybe 2 months ago, but I'm also doing this intro very early as well. So I am having the day off with my family today on Christmas and over Christmas break. But we wanted to share this episode with you because I'm sure there's a lot of leisure time happening at Christmas season. So you're going to love this episode. I talk with the beautiful Kristy Russell from Moovers and Shakers Music. So she is a mindfulness teacher, an accomplished musician, a course creator, and she has a really incredible healing story of working through 30 plus years of chronic pain. Think migraines, gut burning, fibromyalgia type pain. And she is so vulnerable and honest and so generous in sharing with us how she emerged and overcame this chronic pain by deeply connecting with herself. We also tap into her expertise in mindset and using music to calm the nervous system, to support brain health, and also her work with children and educators. So this is a really fun episode. You're going to love Kristy. She is just a ray of sunshine. Every time I see her pop up in my socials feed, I just want to smile, and I know that you will feel her ray of sunshine coming through this audio today. And before we jump in, just a reminder that Ending Body Burnout Method, our program, the doors are open. We've left them open over the holiday period. They will be closing in January though. So if you've been, umming and ahhing and thinking, I really, really want to get to the root cause of my health issues. And Kristy and I talk a lot about what that looks like today on the podcast. You're sick of just band-aiding symptoms, whether it's with medication or natural supplements or even, just standard functional medicine, naturopathy, clinical nutrition. You're like, you know what, those things help, but I still haven't got to the root because my symptoms keep flaring up all the time. Or maybe you haven't even tried anything yet to address your body burnout, but you want to just cut to the chase and make sure you're doing a robust healing process that creates phenomenal results. Then jump in and join the Ending Body Burnout Method before doors close in January. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited for this conversation we're going to have today with the lovely Kristy Russell. So I've read your official bio. I have only known you for a short period of time, but anytime I see you, you just make me want to smile.
Oh, thank you. That's actually really lovely feedback. I hope that's the feeling I give most people.
I think it's just like, I liken you to just a little ray of sunshine or a big ray of sunshine. So it's lovely.
Thank you, Philly. That's really lovely to hear that. Yeah.
All right. So with all our guests, most people, especially if you're in more the holistic healing, mindfulness, health space, most of us have experienced some sort of body burnout in the past. So are you happy to, let's just get like personal so everyone can learn all the secrets all about you. You mentioned that you were experiencing 30 plus years of chronic pain, which is an incredibly long period of time to not feel well. So when did that start and what was happening during your life around then?
Yeah, well, just before we hit record, I know we mentioned the word seasons, and I really think that there are some specific seasons that are important to my story. And I think when you ask where it started, I probably would say when I was 10, when I first got my first migraine at 10. It was excruciating and I just didn't know what was happening. And from then on, I got migraines for the next probably, I would say almost 30 years on and off, but usually related hormonally. And they run in my family, in the female side only. So my mum, my auntie's daughter, my cousins, so we just thought that was part of what we had to deal with in our life. And in terms, so, following on from sort of 10 and then through my teenage years, I developed some ulcer, stomach ulcer kind of burning sensations, still the migraines. And I would say what was happening then was I was typical high achiever, high grades, high performing, high functioning, perfectionist, all of the things that I know from listening to your podcast episodes that contribute to, putting your mental state, your physical state in a state of high alert.
Yeah.
So, that is throughout all the different seasons, that is certainly, something with hindsight has contributed heavily. So, then as I went into early adulthood, oh, by the way, a lot of that was to do, I think, I was trained classical pianist, so classical musician, and it's very, very perfectionist driven. And while I'm not taking away anybody who's been classically trained or trained to, to perform at a high standard, I think there's wonderful things that we can take, wonderful lessons, wonderful self-discipline things. But I think sometimes if you're not mindful about what's also happening internally, it can lead to, the burnout and the fatigue, constant trying to performance anxiety, pleasing, that kind of thing. But going through sort of teenagehood and all the hormones that come with that, and the awkwardness of high school and being, young. And I was I'm still an introvert. I do love people, and I do love being around people, and I'm genuinely interested in them, but I need a lot of downtime in nature to reset my internal systems. So, and I didn't know that then. I just thought I was weird, I just thought I was the weird one. I was into arty-farty stuff. I was the hippy-dippy one, but I was also a real brainiac, and I love science. And so,
all the things.
all the things like Tina Towers is. And then moving into early adulthood, just pain. It was never diagnosed as fibromyalgia, but it was pain. It was in my elbows, in my joints, this and that. And then I went overseas, and I came back, and that turned into, and then I had chronic back pain. And then, fast forward a few years, and then we had our own children, and I had postnatal depression. My hormones just went through the roof. My husband was working away. I had 2 young kids, and, so lots of things going on. I was that typical sort of busy person, high achiever still, and didn't really feel like I could talk to anyone. And in saying that, I don't mean any disrespect to my family or my friends, but I think the pressure I put on myself to be perfect meant that I was the strong one. People saw me as the strong one, and therefore I couldn't really show any weakness. And that's, again, it's all on me. That was my perception. So, other people that love you, they can only help you if you need the help. Like if you say, I need help, or, if you show that you want the help as well. I guess. So, so different seasons as I grew up and things like that, there was still this sort of underlying perfectionism, high performance, and that sort of, and repressed emotion as well. We didn't talk a lot about emotions in our family. So, and interestingly, I've married an Irishman who is so the opposite.
Oh, really?
And it's
probably why.
Yeah, exactly.
I need some of this.
I need to find. And so we've been married for like 11 years, and it was funny, we were talking about it not long ago. We only feel like in the last few years we've kind of come to a middle ground in the way we converse with each other, we communicate our needs and whatever, because it's just so opposite. Like, we're honestly so opposite. But now we kind of respect that oppositeness.
Yeah.
Is that a word? Opposite.
Yep. It sounds like me and Chris as well.
Yes.
And actually, you know what? I've never thought about this, but yeah, I did not know how to communicate my emotions and my thoughts and my feelings. And Chris totally did right from the first time we met. And
Yep.
so, yeah, there was a part of me that was just like, you need to help me, or I want you to help me to pull this out of me, even though it wasn't a conscious decision to do that.
No, but there was something in your DNA, something in your spirit soul that was telling you you're attracted to this person because you know it's safe, going to love you no matter how ugly you are on the inside or on the outside. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's interesting. And I love that, you know, I've listened to your story and Chris's story as well. And I love the talk about the unconscious, what's happening beneath the surface. And I never really understood anything that was happening to the surface, under the surface, until I completely burned it, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then you're forced to, and you can either do something about it or you can stay in the depths of your despair.
Yeah.
Okay. I needed to come out.
Yeah. Okay. So there was migraines, fibromyalgia type pain, the gut stuff going on for decades, patterns of perfectionism, busyness, addictive doing. When did you start to actually address that, to say to yourself, because it also sounded like as well, it's like, oh, there is this pattern in my family line as well. And so one may look at that and just be like, oh, I guess that's just my destiny then. Yeah, everyone else. So this is just something I have to live with or learn to manage. Was that how you thought, or was there a point in time where you're like, you know what if I can solve this? What if this isn't my reality?
Yeah. There's been two monumental moments. I think of it as that cocoon moment when the butterfly is getting prepared and they go inner and then they come out. Complete transformation. Still a butterfly, you know, still that DNA, whatever. So the first time happened when I came back from overseas. I'd been away for 4 years, working away, had some relationships in the past that, you know, just were like toxic. I was toxic, but that person, they were toxic for me. And I came back and I was really down, really lost down. I'm like, what is going on? I need to do something. And I happened to move back to Melbourne and I lived with my best friend, and she's always like, she's my sister, you know, sister from another, she's my soul sister. And just being with her and being allowed to be me, I went through I looked at it was about a 9-month period of dating myself, and I'm doing inverted commas for those people that are not listening.
Yeah.
And I did this complete personal transformation. I did crystal healing. I did journaling. I worked through this thing with Tanishka. I don't know if you know anything about her. Inner goddess. It was beautiful. Chakra work. I just did everything, and I just only dated myself. I had absolutely no contact with males or anything.
Nice.
And it was the most beautiful thing because I wrote down what I wanted to do. I faced some really ugly, what I perceived as ugly truths about myself, which is just my beautiful shadow. You know, how could I treat myself like that when really it's just an inner child that needs a hug? You know what I mean? It needs to be understood. So that was my first around the age of 30. And then my second massive big transformation was when I was about 42. My 40th birthday, I was like, brilliant. I feel amazing. 41, I was like, oh my God, I am done with this. And I had anger in me that I had never felt before. Oh my God, it was so powerful. And I didn't know what to do with it. I was just like,
can I just ask some specific question? So after the 30-year-old going inwards, did your symptoms disappear then?
Interesting. I would say, now I'm going to have to think about this. I would say that I don't know that different symptoms came, but what I can tell is that I experienced joy, and I never experienced joy. I literally felt it as a stream of light consciousness through my body, through my feet, through everything. And that is where, you said to me about my smile. I think I've always had a nice smile, but I actually felt like what my joy was coming out of me.
Yeah.
And I'd never felt that before, internally or externally. So I think I can't say, I'm sure that things changed physically, but it was more mental transformation that I felt, because then I had asked for I put it out to the universe. Eventually, one time, I'd like to meet this person. I ended up manifesting my husband, my now husband, and manifesting a whole lot of stuff that I really put my mind, heart, and soul to asking for.
Yeah.
But then I think what happened with, the chronic back pain started a little while into our relationship. And then things sort of went, as I fell pregnant, as, a first traumatic pregnancy, and then other things, added to things that I hadn't still worked through internally. So different sets of things.
So then when you were 40 and you said, I felt amazing, is that like physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it? Yeah.
I feel a little bit sort of like I can be assertive, and I kind of don't really care what people think of me, Not that it's funny, because my best friend and I always talk about this. I don't really care what people think of me, as in I'll do what I want, right? But internally I do. I'm a people pleaser by default, right? Whereas my best friend always cares what people think, what people say, what she looks like, that kind of thing. I don't have that hang up, but I have the internal hang up. Not anymore, but yeah, that sort of feeling of, oh wow, I feel amazing. I feel like I've kind of grown up and matured enough to not. Yeah, I don't know. I just had this real, a lovely comfort feeling and a feeling of peace within.
Yeah.
And I can't exactly say what happened around 41 or 42. Maybe it was hormone shift. Who knows?
And then you got angry.
I was
angry, Kristy.
I'd had enough of the crap. I'd had enough of people being nice to people, and they just shat all over me and walked all over me. I just had enough.
Yeah.
And that's so unlike me. I think of it as I felt like I was looking at someone going, oh, are you okay? And that was when my chronic back pain was just at a level like I was nearly going to go in for surgery. And I was I can't get up in the morning without pain. I can't go to sleep without pain. I can't lift my kids. I can't. It had been a cumulative effect, though. I really have to say that. So, and that's when, again, I'm going to talk about my best friend. My best friend and I, we're journeying through this life together, and we have so much that happens to us that suddenly just supports each other. And she was going through some horrific pain issues, and she had a pain specialist come to her in hospital. And he said to her, you don't have to be in pain. And she's like, what? Your pain is more than physical. And she's like, what do you mean? And then they started about this holistic way of, well, pain is not just physical. We can't explain it just through one physical element. It's emotional, it's spiritual, it's, pain is an emotion. So then she said to me, Crystals, because that's my nickname, you'd never believe this. You don't have to be in pain either. And so we went on this spiritual journey, healing thing together. And oh my God, the best thing that I've ever done. Cannot tell you.
And then that is okay, so cool. So we actually, was it last week or the week before, we did a group call with our clients in our ending body burnout method, and we spoke specifically about pain, and I used a model. Oh gosh, his name has disappeared out of my brain right now, but it was in the 1970s. Oh, who?
Dr. Sano?
No, it's Dr. Engel.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay, yeah.
I do, actually. I'm just going to jot him down because I think, yeah.
So his model is all about the bio-socio-psycho model.
Yep.
And specifically for pain, because he was getting a bunch of people coming into his clinic, and it's like, oh, we're doing all the physical stuff, and while some people it helped, Other people it wasn't at all, and some people it helped, but it wasn't sticking for
Yes.
life.
Yeah.
And so then he looked at, okay, well, what else is going on? So we're not just a physical body, we're also psychological. So psychologically is mental, emotional, spiritual, what's happening in your unconscious state. And really, pain is just there to keep us safe. It's there
Exactly.
for safety and survival,
Yeah.
because it is the fastest and easiest way to get us out of danger, because we will listen to pain.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, oh, okay, well, what's happening unconsciously that is causing unsafety in your system? And then socio is really interesting too. It's like, who are you hanging out with? What perceptions do you have, either like in your family circle? So I'm thinking about your family line of, oh, just all the women have migraines and pain.
Oh, there
Those
we go.
things, yeah. And like cultural norms. Oh, yeah, like when you feel something physical, it's just in the physical body. And so therefore, which then causes people to feel like they don't have a lot of control over it, because then they have to go to the experts to fix them.
Mm.
So, okay. So you went on this journey.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I'm going to use I hope you don't mind it, through Curable. So Curable is an app. I mean, I'm not affiliated with them or anything, but it first started through listening to their podcast, and their podcast is called Like Mind, Like Body. And it was the first time I'd ever really understood what pain is. And the whole issue, not the issue, the challenge is that most GPs now have gone through their training and they've had a bit of this and a bit of that, an overview, and they've studied, and it's important that they study, but they're not studying what the relevant pain, the science behind pain is these days. It's still got the old model of pain is a physical manifestation. They're not taking into account all the, the quantum mechanics, quantum physics, the energetics, epigenetics, all of the stuff that we have to have at our hands these days. So when you go to a GP or go to a professional and talk about your pain and they can't fix it, well, then what are you supposed to just have some drugs or have this or have surgery or whatever? So it's so dangerous. It really is.
Yeah.
So what my healing was a combination of everything. And, you would appreciate this. Holistically, I needed to do graded motor imagery. I needed to do expressive writing. I needed to do CBT. I needed to do everything and address everything on a level that made sense to me. So the onus or the responsibility, not in a bad way, was to come back to me and what my story was. I know you love story. You've done your PhD in creative storytelling. What are the stories that we're telling? I was telling myself that I'm not good enough unless I get 200%. I'm not good enough unless I do all the things all the time and I'm always the strong one. So all of these things that I was telling myself, I had to then go deep into them and critically evaluate those to see, well, is that true? Okay, well, if that's true, then what about that? And what about that? So, you're following it, you're going to the root cause. And it took a lot of time. Like I would probably say that I worked on this for about 14 months, most days of the week.
Yeah.
And, I'm grateful that I do have that self-discipline. I'm really grateful that I was able to dig deep down into it.
Yeah.
I still believe that I'm drawing upon, I wouldn't say I'm healed completely, but I've healed to the point where I'm okay with not being okay. And I'm okay with a little twinge pain here and there. I'm okay. I don't fear everything anymore. And that's what it was. The root cause for me was this fear.
Yeah.
That I wasn't loved. I wasn't good enough. People are going to abandon me if I show my true self, Very deep work.
Yeah, it's so deep. And just something that you said there too, I think is really important to understand is what does it even mean to be healed completely? Because we're humans. And again, I just go back to the science behind pain. Why is pain there? Well, it's there to keep us safe. And so imagine if someone went through a massive healing and transformation journey and then they're completely symptom free. Now, I believe that you can get to a point where there can be certainly prolonged periods of being symptom free, but it's still there to keep you in line. Like, it's still there to say, hey, we started believing something, or we started going down old patterns that aren't serving you or weren't serving you in the past. Or actually, you know what? You just ate something that has a nasty bacteria in it. And yeah, you actually have food poisoning now. So it's like, you know, like, so it's still there to serve a purpose. It's not like, you know, though we say ending body burnout, that doesn't actually mean like you are happy and symptom free for the rest of your life and you're living on a cotton ball and da 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 da. It's actually getting to the point where you can listen to those signals before they get you to the point of like that deep body burnout again.
Yeah, you're so true. And I was thinking about that this morning because I woke up this morning feeling quite anxious, and I just thought, okay, what's going on, Kristy? And I realized that I'd been doing a lot of stuff. I've been doing, you know, a lot of stuff for my own business, a lot of stuff with my kids, working through their, you know, they're kind of, one of them's preteens, and lots of emotions that seem to come. You know, there's a lot of mental load going on, and I realized I haven't taken enough time out for myself. Just to, even if it's 5 minutes, you know, I'm not saying I have to go into a spa for the day. You know, I just, I'm really grateful that exactly like you said, I'm not going for happy 100%. That is an absolute myth. And I think that's really dangerous to try and attain that. We are not robots and we are not monks. Okay.
Well, it's also perfectionism showing up again. If someone was like, I'm going to be 100% happy all the time and super healthy and pain-free.
Yeah.
That's a bit tiring, a bit boring,
exhausting. I'll tell you about it. So it's really good because I thought, oh, okay, Kristy, you're feeling all those things. It's okay. Take a breath. Just think about what you can do. What action can you take right now that will, you know, that snowball effect. We want to prevent the snowball effect.
Yes.
That's what I didn't know before. I didn't know that you could physically and internally, mentally, I didn't realize that I had that power within myself to stop the snowball, not repress it, not stop it forever, but just stop it in its tracks, let it flow through me, respect it, thank it for reminding me, you know, it's my accountability buddy.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to treat my accountability buddy how I used to. I'm not going to ignore them. I'm not going to be rude to them because I don't want them to be rude to me. I don't want them to give me a heart attack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want it to become a heart attack or something horrible.
Yeah. I love that. Accountability buddy. That's awesome. It's awesome.
Thank you.
So life sounds like it's very different to you. You mentioned that you're training for your first Dan in Taekwondo. Now, I don't really specifically know what that is, but I did see you on social media chopping a board. Breaking a board with your bare hands.
Well, actually, I do have to do 2 boards with my bare hands, but I was breaking a board with my foot. Now, this is really interesting. I have, this is my accountability buddy in physical form. So nothing mental as well. So Taekwondo, it's a martial art. It's using your hand. It's the art of using your hands and your feet as weapons. It's self-defense. Okay. So we essentially do it as self-defense. We don't compete. We do it. It's family friendly. Do it with the kids. About 3 months into my healing journey of my chronic pain, I just happened to, one of my piano students did Taekwondo and she said, oh, you'd love it. Come up and bring the kids up. So I did. And I was hooked. And my perfectionist part of me went hammer and tongs. I'm like, I'm going to get this chronic pain. I'm going to beat it and I'm going to do this. And so I did go hard at the start. I tore calf muscles left, right, and center. I was injured left, right, and center. I'm like, Kristy, slow down. Remember before you melted down, before you had this huge burnout, why was that? The perfectionist, the doing, pushing myself. I backed off a bit and I enjoyed it more. I'm still hooked, let me tell you, but in a gentler way, because I love the way that it helps me I love the endorphins and the natural stuff that's released when I physically am, you know, in physically working out my aerobics. I love the physical side of it. I love the mental discipline. And when I say mental discipline, it's holding back when you need to hold back.
Yeah.
I love that it's still a team sport, but internally, you know, it's an individual sort of thing. And I love the community. So this is, you know, when I know that you know, like I said, it's an accountability buddy as well. When I'm mentally tired, I love training. I'm like, I look forward to it. When I'm physically tired, I don't go to training. Or I go to training and I say to my instructor, I'm feeling pretty low in energy. Can I just help you out with the instructing tonight? And he'll be like, yep, that's fine. So I'm using my asking voice, which I really have to practice that. I'm asking for what I need. I'm listening to my body. And, you know, for your listeners out there, I'm not saying that I do this 100% of the time. Again, I'm about an 80-20 person.
Yeah.
Generally. If I'm 70-30 or 50-50 or whatever, then I know, okay, well, I really need to just cut some things out of my schedule this week, or I can say no to that. But that's kind of that like idea, that balance that I like to do.
Yeah.
You know?
So
yeah, my first Dan is when you do your senior black belt. So it's really, yeah, once you get to your black belt,
pro.
You know,
it's pro, guys. Pro.
It definitely is. There's definitely that, and you've earned it physically. You've you know, because there's sparring involved as well. There's using your I wouldn't say fighting, but it's sparring. It's using the skills that you're learning through all the patterns that you do. So that's kind of like dance movements in a way. I like to describe it like that. Certain patterns, I love the philosophy behind it about being humble but being strong and defending the weak, and you know, training and striving for something greater than you. So yeah, when you get to your black belt, that's certainly not the end of the journey. But I liken my classical piano, you know, when I was 17, I got awarded with, you know, what we call the associate diploma in music. It's a very high, you've attained a technical mastery. And then you can certainly go on. And that's probably what black belt is in martial arts. It's a certain,
really cool.
And one thing I do want to say about this, you know, I think there's certain, you talk about this a lot, you know, character traits, perfectionism, people pleasing, things like that. I wouldn't say challenge, but yeah, it is a bit of a challenge, is to know that I want more out of this life. I don't just want to be mediocre. But what that looks like for me might look different for somebody else. But it's about me going, well, what am I prepared to sacrifice to be more? Like, I'm not satisfied just sitting around watching TV or whatever. And that's fine if people want to do that. But I'm curious. I want to meet people. I want to get up on stage and talk to people and inspire people. I want to learn new ways to do things. I want to educate, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, sometimes it's a bit tricky to want all those things and still be okay with just being quiet sometimes.
Yeah, I like it's the oh goodness, the higher part of the brain, which is the limbic system. Don't quote me on that.
It's your frontal cortex.
The frontal cortex. Yeah. Which is the part of us, of humans, that make us very different to animals, in that we do want to progress and we want growth and movement, and not just be neutral, stagnant. And then when you add in old behavioral patterns or like programming, yeah, it is. I feel like that's been a massive learning growth for me as well. That it's like, ooh, because there was a part of my journey as well where I'm like, oh, maybe I need to just stop like wanting to do so much, or like stop achieving. How about maybe I just step back and just, I don't know, I'm going to say just be a mum. Which I love being a mum, but I've also done that in periods in my life, and I get really not like, I don't feel fulfilled because I feel like there is more to give, and I actually feel like I have a purpose for being here, and it is what I'm doing right now within our business, which also then impacts our family and my children. So yeah, it is that tricky balance hey, of navigating that. And I think that that's where the body is so incredible. So for someone like you who's had this chronic pain pattern in the past, well, that's just the way that your body communicates to you. So you'll know when the balance is not right, because you'll highly likely get a little bit of a symptom or a bit of a pain signal in the body. And that is the same for me as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're a sensitive person, and when I say that, it's not like I used to struggle with that. I thought I was weak. I thought that was weakness. But sensitivity, oh my gosh, it's so powerful. You're the one that's going to pick up on the dead thing in the roof that needs to be taken out, which we've got in our roof at the moment.
Ew.
Gross, I think it's a rat.
Yeah.
Or you're the one that's going to smell when the food is going off, so you won't get that food poisoning.
Yeah.
You're going to be the one in the room that feels there's something not right in this room. There's a person in here not safe. Let's move away. Or there's a person that needs our help. We need to go and help them. I think that's a very, I think always I come back to mindset and our mentality, and what lens are we looking through in our life? Are we looking through that abundant growth mindset, positive mindset, or are we fixed? Are we judgmental? Are we what's that other word that I'm trying to search for? Are we skeptical? It's okay to ask questions and to be discriminative, not discrimination by any means. Discriminative, like why is that happening, or why do you want me to do that, or something like that. But that general attitude, that state of mind, I think it's really important to look at life like that. I went completely off track then.
That's okay. That's often where the best conversations go. Now, I do want to talk about what you do within your business. So you mentioned even at a young age, classical piano. So you're always into music. When did you transition more into music and mindfulness and working more so with children?
Yeah, well, I actually thought I was going to be a child psychologist. So my uni studies were behavioural science with a major in psychology. But I got to the end of that degree and I went, oh my gosh, I don't think I can study anymore. I want to meet people and I want to work with people. And it just so happened that I moved out of Melbourne, and the government was giving away a training in certificate 3 in children's services. And I've always worked with children as a nanny or babysitting growing up, and I love kids. So I just thought, oh, like $40, yeah, I'll pay $40 and go and study something. And I loved it. I was with a really forward-thinking centre in Geelong, and they were all about sustainability. Mind you, this is 1997. So talking about sustainability back then was kind of like this new thing. So they loved me. I loved them. I worked with them for a couple of years. At the same time, I worked as a piano teacher for a music company, and just sort of always had those two things on the go, working in Montessori, working as a piano teacher. Then I went overseas, worked as a nanny, came back, and I thought, you know what, I'm ready to go and do my teaching degree in kindergarten. I didn't want to do primary school teaching. I knew that wasn't for me. So I did that at uni, and then I started working as a kindergarten teacher. Loved that. Then I had my own kids and didn't go back to teaching for a little while because I wanted to be at home, and I wanted those first few years with the kids as well. We moved to Tasmania about 6 years ago, and I was ready to go back in the workforce, and I couldn't go back to teaching kindergarten because I didn't have registration in Tasmania. So it's a bureaucratic 6-month window that completely missed my life.
Wow.
Just in terms of where I had provisional registration in Victoria, but because I'd been out of the workforce for so long, they didn't recognise it here in Tassie. Anyway, long story short, I thought, well, bugger that. I'm going to start up my own company.
Yeah.
Teaching, I'll start my own thing. So I started doing music and movement programs. My mum was a teacher in music, so I had all her like egg shakers and maracas, and we were in Deloraine, And I just went around to different schools.
That's
and
in Tasmania, by the way.
Tasmania, yeah.
Where I
And
grew up.
weird how things have come together. Not weird. So, but so there I just started it, and I just put myself out there. I rang all the schools. Then we moved. We were only there for about 6 months, and my husband got a job elsewhere on the northwest of Tasmania, where we are now. And again, I just rang up all the schools and said, I'm Kristy Russell. I love music and working with kids. Would you like me to come and do some sessions with you? And a couple of them said, yeah. And I ended up having a gig with our local Catholic school for about 4 years running. I created their kindergarten music program. I ran their birth to 5 programs for their families and young children. Loved it.
Awesome.
And with all of that, I just thought, oh, I love this. I love the joy and connection it gives with people and families, but I also love how it can support pre-literacy, pre-numeracy, physical, social skills, all of that. And I started, with my own, about 3 years into that, that's when I went into my own personal transformation. So that's when the mindset stuff really came in. Simple things like breathing, just breathing, learning how to breathe slowly, deeply, to switch on your automatic nervous system, switch on your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest, and switch off your fight and flight system, So I've got that the right way, haven't I?
Yes. Yep. Correct.
So simple things like that. And I would bring it into, I'd always brought it into my kinder sessions and all the sessions, just about relaxing music and playing my tank drum, but never understood the science behind it. And I was hooked. And then I started studying neuromusic science through Bigger, Better Brains, Dr. Anita Collins, and I was hooked even more, and I'm still hooked. So I believe that there's these 2 superpowers that are available to us as modes of learning. So musical learning, we know that turns on the whole brain. It supports all sorts, especially literacy skills, but social skills, emotional, so all of that. Then we have mindfulness, breathing techniques, being aware of our states of, our bodies. We have these 2 things that we have the power internally to work with, to have little tips and tricks to work with our own bodies. We need to be bringing those in as early as possible so that our young children are almost absorbing them as part of their natural, the way that they absorb songs and nursery rhymes and counting through, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, once I caught a fish alive. Let's bring all of that in with some breath work and some, talking about our bodies and our moods and things, so that by the time they get to primary school, they're a little bit more resilient. They're a little bit more ready to learn in terms of their brain architecture. And then a little bit more regulated, perhaps. Won't see so much, I work in primary schools at the moment as well. So I'm seeing, early primary struggling with reading, struggling with sitting in a classroom, struggling with social skills. If we have all of these things, this is my theory, right? If we have all of this early on, it's just going to be a little bit easier, that transition to school, primary school. And then a little bit easier when we transition to high school, and a little bit easier when we transfer to adulthood and independent living. I just see everything through a prevention lens, I think.
Yeah.
Saying it's a one-stop shop and it's going to end the world and, we're going to achieve world peace. I just think in the same way that Dr. Anita Collins talks about, we invest in healthy eating, healthy mentality. Why don't we consciously invest in cognitive health, capacity? Building capacity early on with things like music and mindset. So that's what I do. I really, I've created a course for educators specifically in the early childhood space, to support them with why music's important, why mindset, why mindfulness, tapping in, tuning into ourselves is important first. Because if we can't connect with ourselves, how are we going to connect with the children we work with and care for? And so I have, some little free resources to get an idea of what it's like to work with me. And then I have some short courses. And I just want to keep creating resources that support educators, because they're such an important role.
And we'll make sure in the show notes, we're going to put in the show notes the breathing.
I have a little breathing guide.
Yeah.
5 simple breathing techniques.
Yeah. I love music. I mean, my kids love music.
Mm.
I think we're just wired for music, and
Mhm.
it's also a language of the unconscious state as well.
Yeah.
Because I find that if I'm in a poor state, or even if I want to get into a different state. So I remember I did this when, what was it, last year in an Osmompreneur Awards judging, and I was like super nervous. So I put on Katy Perry's Raw, and I just like danced and I sang loud. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for this. So
Awesome.
it's awesome. It's just in the same way as smells as well. Like I find like different essential oil scents,
Yeah.
or even smelling the fresh grass,
I
instant
love it.
state change,
Yeah.
which is really powerful too, like both for children and also for adults, that we have these very simple and often free resources where we can get out of funks, or we can get out of our mind if we're spiraling with
Yeah.
anxiety, or even just moving the body to the rhythm then helps to shift things like trauma
Yep.
and locked emotion. Like it's really powerful, and I don't think people understand to the extent in which they have it on their phone,
Yeah.
something that they can use to heal.
I know, I'm with you totally. And I think it comes back to that mindset again, that fixed mindset that doctors will know. I will
Mm,
go and see the doctor, and
mm,
he or she will tell me what I need to take or what I need to do. And therefore, I don't need to do anything.
mm,
I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but you are going to have to do a little bit of something to help yourself, because nobody knows your story. You are your best judgment of what is going to work for you.
yeah,
You know? Yes,
absolutely.
definitely don't not go to the doctor, don't not consult a health professional, but just know that you have so much power within you, and you do, like you said, you can tap into music free. You don't have to pay money. There are certainly things that you might need to pay money for, but just try tapping into anything free that you can. Tap into nature, tap into chatting with a friend, or sometimes it's hard to say that you're not coping. I've felt that before. I'm sure there's lots of people out there that have felt that pressure to be okay. And I
Mm,
love the fact that we are getting less taboo about, are you okay? We're getting less taboo about mental health. We've still got a long way to go though.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so for our listeners who have been listening along, struggling with body burnout, what would you suggest are the first steps to moving towards healing based on your own journey, or even if it's specific around mindfulness or music?
Mm.
What would you say are the first steps?
I do really think the first step is realizing that you need help. And
Mm,
whether you're comfortable talking to a friend or a family member, or somebody that's in a professional psychologist or your GP, I think that's the first step. Because if you don't recognize that you need, like, if you know internally there's something going on, please don't be scared. There are so many people out there that have experienced something similar. Not your story, because your story is absolutely unique. Nobody's going to take away what has happened to you, or nobody has the right to tell you that your experience is not valid. Of course, there's going to be somebody that's going to be worse off than you, most likely. But do you know what? When you admit it to yourself, you are taking the very first step. So then go and talk to somebody else and say, you know what, I'm not sure what I can do. Do you have any suggestions? And if they don't know, just go and ask someone else that you trust or that you feel comfortable with. There is somebody that's going to help you help yourself, but
mm,
you need to be able to do that yourself. And it could be something as simple as, if you work in an office, just start by taking your lunch outside and eating it outside instead of in front of your computer. It could be something like, if you're a stay-at-home parent, or you've got a lot of parenting or lots of mental load with young children, put on some funky music and have a dance off. Move those emotions, okay?
mm,
Just know that you have internal powers that you can tap into. You just might need to ask for help, and that is okay.
mm. Awesome. So
Mm.
love it. Thank you so
And
much.
I'm sending out so many hugs and beautiful light to all people that need it right now.
Yeah.
I don't know you, but it doesn't matter. I really feel you from
Mm.
a human heart.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I
know, I
feeling
just
the good
love to hear that.
feelings. So if people want to find out more about you,
Mm.
especially if there's any educators who might find your resources really helpful, or also we were going to pop in the show notes something around breathing and regulation that everyone could benefit from, how can people find you?
So my business is called Movers and Shakers Music.
Double O.
Double O, yes, double O, because I had a dream about a cow and a pig and they were dancing, singing Movers and Shakers. I could not have that as my logo.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
we'll have to pay attention to the 2 O's, but Movers and Shakers Music. You can find me on Facebook, socials. I do have a small YouTube gathering, so I'd always love to do that. But I have some tank drums playlists up there and some story times for kids. And yeah, you'll see it in the show notes. You'll find me if you need to see me, I reckon.
Awesome. The stars will align.
They sure will. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I hope everyone has an awesome day.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout Assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.